Okay, so you want to talk power in Hommlet, huh? Well, we got to talk about who's really calling the shots there. Spiritually speaking, of course.
Right.
And for that, we are diving into the Church of St. Cuthbert.
Yeah.
And trust me, this is not your grandma's Sunday service.
You are so right to zero in on that church. One thing that people might not realize is that it's not just some quaint little local landmark. This is a mini fortress we're talking about. Strategically positioned, too, right there on those key trade routes.
Yeah.
That gives them a surprising amount of political pull, even for a religious institution.
And from what I'm seeing in these descriptions, they're not shy about that power at all.
Oh, no.
This new building, 2 stories of stone perched on a hill overlooking everything, vaulted ceilings, stained glass. They were going for awe-inspiring, and they nailed it, I think.
Think about it. Viscount Wilfric himself, he commissioned this place.
Oh, wow.
After the whole Temple of Elemental Evil business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole debacle.
Right.
The region needed more than just a place to pray.
Yeah.
They needed a symbol,
Oh, yeah.
like a symbol of resilience.
Right.
A line in the sand against all that chaos.
Yeah.
What better way to do that than with a grand, imposing church
Right.
dedicated to a deity known for order and vigilance?
So it's like a fortress of faith.
Yes.
But with actual defenses built in.
Exactly. This is where the Church of St. Cuthbert gets really, really interesting.
Yeah, okay.
They're deeply involved in keeping the peace, almost like a religious military force, almost. They patrol right alongside the local guards, making sure everyone's towing the line, following the law of the land, and the doctrines of St. Cuthbert.
Wow, so it's a powerful blend of spiritual and secular authority.
Very much so.
Okay, so we're not just talking sermons and stained glass here. We're talking action.
Yeah, big time.
Which brings us to the man in charge locally.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this Canon Terjon. He's described as this imposing figure, like less kindly priest, more like battlefield commander.
Yeah, no, you're picking up what the sources are putting down there. Terjon's role, it's definitely more than just spiritual guidance. He's a canon, you see. And that rank, well, it means he's got both religious and secular authority. He answers directly to Bishop Hoffren up in Verbobonc.
Okay. So who is this Terjon guy?
Well, he's a bit of a paradox, really. You've got this sternness, almost unfriendly, yet underneath. Deep dedication to the church, the people.
So all business on the surface, but I'm sensing a but coming.
It's just, there are whispers that his heart lies elsewhere, like he'd rather be off on some grand adventure. Duty calls, but still.
Wait, really? So it's like he's got this Indiana Jones complex, but he's stuck in Hommlet.
It wouldn't be entirely inaccurate. Remember, we're talking about a member of the Chapeau here. They're the adventurers of the St. Cuthbert faith, always pushing boundaries.
Right, I'm starting to see it. This yearning for something more, but with those bandits breathing down their necks.
Exactly. How does that internal struggle, that desire for something more, how does that affect his leadership in a crisis? Big question.
And that's where Calmert comes in.
Seemingly embodying the faith, always preaching, guiding the whole bit.
And then we hear about the fundraising.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is he for real?
Okay, I'm hooked. What's the deal with St. Cuthbert anyway? I'm getting kick butt for God vibes, not gonna lie.
It's not that far off, actually. See, St. Cuthbert was all about law and order. Chaos was the enemy. And sometimes force was necessary to combat it.
So it's not just about praying, it's about being prepared to fight for what they believe in, which explains the fortress.
Exactly. And within the church, you've got these 3 orders, each one serving St. Cuthbert in their own way.
Which brings us back to Terjon, right? Being a chapeau, always pushing boundaries.
And maybe those boundaries are feeling a little too close to home these days.
While he's stuck in Hommlet with a potential crisis brewing.
Precisely.
And Calmert, what's his deal? He's mixed up in this whole thing too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Remember, he's part of the Order of the Cudgel.
Right. That's a more hands-on group, yeah.
Let's just say they take a very active approach to upholding St. Cuthbert's teachings.
Okay, so not just sermons and stuff for this guy, which makes those rumors about his fundraising even more interesting.
It really makes you wonder, what's the angle here? What's his end game?
Yeah, like, is it just zeal or something more?
See, we've talked about Terjon being torn between duty and this desire for adventure.
Yeah.
But what if Calmert's conflict is way more complicated?
More complicated how?
What if it's not about good versus evil for him, but more like the ends justify the means?
Hold on, are we suggesting that Calmert might be playing dirty? Using people's fears, maybe?
Think about it. We're talking about a village on edge. Bandits constantly threatening, people desperate for protection.
And Calmert swoops in The pious fundraiser here to save the day.
Exactly. And let's not forget those rumors about his methods. What if there's truth to them? What if he's found a way to exploit the situation, use it to his advantage?
Okay, hold up a second. That's a serious accusation. Do we have any solid evidence for that? Because from what I've read, the guy seems pretty devout, giving sermons, guiding villagers, even doing those fortune-telling things with sticks.
You're right, he does. And that's what makes Calmert so intriguing. He embodies the role of a devout follower perfectly, tirelessly working, caring for his congregation, always seeming to have their best interests at heart.
But you're suggesting it might all be an act, a way to manipulate people, stay in control. Control of what, though?
Now that's the million gold piece question, isn't it? Is it power he craves? Money? Does he want to usurp Terjon, become the true power in Hommlet?
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from dedicated acolyte to power-hungry schemer pretty quickly.
War. Could there be something even more complex at play? What if he's not the mastermind, but a pawn in a much larger game?
Okay, now my head's spinning. This is getting complicated.
And that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes the most dangerous individuals are the ones hiding in plain sight.
So you're saying Calmert could be a wolf in sheep's clothing, using the church, the villagers' faith, even the threat of bandits, all for his own gain.
It's certainly a possibility we can't ignore. How do his fundraising efforts impact the village? Who benefits most from his influence within the church? And, maybe most importantly, who stands to lose the most if his ambition goes unchecked?
So it's like this whole situation in Hommlet is a tinderbox ready to explode. You've got the bandit threat, Terjon trying to lead, and then Calmert, the wild card.
Which, by the way, Verbobonc. That's no sleepy little parish. It's the heart and soul of the St. Cuthbert faithful in the whole region.
Wow.
So when Terjon makes a move in Hommlet, people notice.
High stakes, then.
You could say that again.
And to add to that, there are these whispers about Terjon, right? Rumors of magical items that he keeps hidden. Anything to that?
Well, let's just say that discretion seems to be a big part of his approach.
Oh, really?
A ring of invisibility, for one. Another for mammal control. It's not exactly standard issue priest gear.
You're telling me, okay, so not the kind of thing you just casually bring up in a sermon,
Right.
But it really makes you think, what's he using this stuff for?
Exactly. And this is where understanding St. Cuthbert's teachings is so important. Vigilance and order. Those aren't just words. They're about taking action. So those items, they could easily be tools, for discrete intervention. Taking care of threats before they become big problems.
So he's less about punishment after the fact, more about just stopping things from going wrong in the first place.
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Interesting. But he didn't just show up in Hommlet out of nowhere?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
He was sent to replace the previous Canon SU-Day.
What happened to her?
Vanished. Gone poof.
Seriously?
No sign, no explanation. And no one's outright connecting that to the whole bandit thing that started up right after Terjon got there. But it definitely makes you wonder.
Hold on. A Canon disappears, and then this new guy shows up right as things start getting dicey. Come on.
And those bandits, they're more than just a nuisance. We're talking about chaos, lawlessness, everything St. Cuthbert's about stopping. And Terjon, well, let's just say he's not afraid to get his hands dirty when it comes to doing his duty.
Okay, so we've got Terjon, right? This imposing figure, maybe with a bit of a shadowy past, who's taking a hard line on the bandit situation.
Right.
But what I think is so interesting is he's not the only one with some strong opinions on how to handle things. Remember that whole fortress thing Calmert's pushing for?
Yeah.
That's where things get really interesting, I think.
It's true. Acolyte Calmert, he embodies a different side of St. Cuthbert's teachings. He's part of that Order of the Cudgel. And they're known for being, how should I say this? Proactive?
Okay, so let's talk. More action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for Calmert Actual, that means securing resources, fortifying Hommlet's defenses. That fortress, to him, that's not just a building, it's a symbol. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's sending a message. Evil is not welcome here.
So Terjon wants to go after those bandits or root them out. Calmert's over here saying, let's build walls, keep him out.
Yeah, and that is precisely where the whole power dynamic within the church gets even more fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
They're both devoted to St. Cuthbert.
Right.
They both want a safe and orderly Hommlet.
Right.
But their approaches.
Yeah.
Let's just say there's potential for some friction there.
Yeah, definitely.
Terjon, he sees those bandits as like a disease, something to be eradicated.
Right.
Calmert, he's focused on strengthening the body, so to speak, making it strong enough to resist the infection.
And it's like you were saying earlier about Terjon, right? Those rumors about his methods, even his past.
Yeah.
Calmert's got his own share of that going around, too. Folks
Yeah.
questioning his methods, his dedication to gathering all those donations.
It's there. Adds another whole layer of tension to the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. And let's not forget, this isn't happening in a bubble. This is the Church of St. Cuthbert, a powerful institution, deep roots, far-reaching influence.
Right. And they're tight with Viscount Wilfric.
Exactly.
Plus that whole network of churches and abbeys across the region. It makes you wonder what happens if these two approaches to St. Cuthbert's teachings, they clash.
Yeah, what then?
Who comes out on top? What does it mean for Hommlet?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's one that the good people of Hommlet are probably wrestling with right now as we speak. You know, sometimes the most compelling stories, they're the ones unfolding quietly, behind the scenes, where faith and ambition collide. And from the looks of it, Hommlet, under the watchful eye of St. Cuthbert, well, that's where a very compelling story is unfolding.